My name's Simon Scott Nelson. I'm CEO of Wellity Global, which is the trusted provider for many of the largest brands in the world in terms of their workplace well-being. We were supporting the police force at G7 Summit, and we work with other brands such as Fujitsu, Nokia, the police, Microsoft, and many more. So it's something that's grown out of obviously a great requirement at the moment for everyone to look after the well-being of their colleagues, and we see ourselves very much as a pick and mix of 300 e-learning courses, various provisions and psychologists to look after the well-being of staff. I'm also chair of the Institute of Sales Professionals Mental Health and Wellbeing Committee, and delighted to say co-founder of the Great British Workplace Wellbeing Awards, along with the team behind the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. And these round tables are a series of round tables really that lead up to what will be a big final, where we will hopefully see those who are championing the well-being of everyone in their workforce. And we offer up a number of discussions en route to that. And today's is, are we going to see, I forget the exact title, but are we going to see performances return to pre-pandemic levels? And someone on one of the comments last night said, did we ever leave them? And I suddenly thought, well, did we ever leave them? I mean, I'm looking around at some of the names here and some of the environments that you've got. And it's lovely to see Chris. There we are. We've got Chris in the room.
Hello, Chris.
And you've had a busy couple of years, Chris. I've seen you rocketing up as well. Now, in certain industries, some haven't even seen a dip. In fact, some have flourished over the last 18 months, where be the well-being of their staff and working from home may have thrown other stuff into the mix. So, first of all, would anyone like to define, I suppose, performance?
Rather than performance, I have noticed it a bit with the team as we've returned to work. Teams that have been furloughed, part furloughed, possibly working from home. I think we've sort of instilled a new culture accidentally, where people seem to be happy working from home. And were reluctant to come back into the office and would find any excuse not to come back into the office. So it was a difficult trying to change that curve and encourage people back in, but also at the same time take a step back, and if they are working well from home, maybe slightly more productive, keep those people at home and let them do it. So it's been interesting to see that sort of. The main thing I found is we work obviously with a lot of casual staff that we will employ on a temporary basis for our big events and such like that, and finding them again once they've gone off to find other jobs, whether they're working at Tesco or whichever places were open or doing Amazon delivery, trying to encourage them to come back to work has been a massive struggle, and we're in a bit of a recruitment crisis at the minute in trying to find and replace those people that decided that they no longer wanted to return.
I'm lucky enough to be going to the Bournemouth Sevens in a couple of weeks, but that was cancelled last year. It's the biggest music and sport festival. And I look at other events around the world which have cancelled. I mean, you're clearly not, I wouldn't have thought, as an industry, back at those levels, or has there been a pent-up demand that people just want to get out now?
Well, there's definitely been that. We were saying this last night. So we had a race meeting last night, and this week we've got a Tuesday race meeting, Thursday race meeting, and a Sunday race meeting. We would always expect to see the Tuesday to be completely dead, because people would prefer to come to the Thursday and the Sunday racing, but we were at capacity in all areas last night, and that trend seems to be going through until we've only released all the dates until September, but pretty much every area of hospitality is full until the end of September. So I'm hoping that trend continues, because it'll just make my life a heck of a lot easier. But the struggle that comes with it is finding these additional workers and finding the right agency staff to bring in to be able to perform the hospitality that we're promised and offered. So right. That's the main thing we're struggling with at the minute. But no, the trend seems to be that everybody does want to get out. I think everybody would go to the opening of an envelope at the minute. But so, yeah, there's plenty of people itching to get out, and we've noticed a massive spike in bookings to what we would usually see in previous years.
I just want to build on some stuff that James has said, and it's really interesting to sort of share your insights, James, into sort of the hospitality sector. I think what we're seeing is with the clients we're working with, I think there's an acceptance at board level that they've got to treat their salespeople differently and how they motivate them. And I think, traditionally, a lot of CEOs and MDs have thought if we pay more commission or more bonuses to our salespeople, they'll perform better. And actually, I think they're having to take a much deeper dive into what really motivates their salespeople. I think what the pandemic has shown is that sales teams can operate in different ways, that you don't have to meet people to do business. I think a lot of salespeople, and we're hearing this a lot, I need to get out and see my customers. I need to get back in the car and see people face to face. But actually, when you ring people up these days, the first thing that people are saying is, why? Because actually, I think people have got busier because of COVID. I think some organisations have streamlined and made, people are ending up doing like 1.5 jobs. So if you're wanting to meet somebody you're selling to, it is more difficult face to face. So I think organisations having to find different ways of empowering and motivating the sales team, and I think that applies to some other functions. And I think what you're seeing is we're probably going to move to a hybrid model.
I do think we have to redefine a little bit high performance. I mean, look, I lead revenue organizations. Of course, it's about, let's hit plan, but I think performance needs to be, particularly when it's around well-being, and we think about the new environment we're operating in. Your high performers are people that help other people perform well, not just themselves. I've long said sales is a team sport. There's very few businesses where we actually can transact and do everything for a customer as a single person. We normally take people in contracts or billing or support or engineering, or like there's other humans that are involved. So yes, we want people who knock it out of the park and are hungry and driven by the risk reward of sales compensation, but they need to be good citizens of the culture to help other people succeed. Otherwise, I think it becomes dilutive. They win, but are we winning?
I think organisations having to find different ways of measuring performance. I don't think it's all about the money. Clearly, if you're in sales, you've got a target and you've got revenue, but we're not talking to organisations about, don't measure lagging indicators, which are the financials. Focus more on the leading indicators, which are going to predict future success, so the behavioural indicators.
100% agree with that.
Give people, are you really coaching the people for success? Do you understand the mindset issues which are getting in the way? Do you understand the mindset issues and why somebody doesn't want to go on a call like this? The number of times the last 6 months where we've been doing coaching and people won't turn on the camera, and then you have to say, James, I can see you, so I'm going to pick on you. James, would you go to face-to-face meeting and put a bag over your head so they couldn't see your face?
I've been known to.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. I mean, I am a believer still in the face-to-face, but morely on the. You don't have to do business face-to-face. I do agree with that, in the sense that you can do more things virtually now, and I think we do need to embrace technology because of the way technology is advanced.
In terms of performance, is that actually, whilst we've become always on, actually, do we need hour-long calls to cover something that you'd be able to cover in a quick chat, or a coffee or a cigarette, or walking for lunch, or whatever it might be? That for me is another load of the factors that I think about all the time that will actually, I think, really help ease us back into the performance levels that we need.
One of the things that we found, a lot of our organizations are asking, what do we do? We used to have field sales. They want to get back on the road. They want to meet their customers in person. The best answer I think we've come up with is let data help inform how you reconstruct. If the data tells you that customers are really happy to buy in a virtualized environment, or that they can do a large portion of their engagement with you and their satisfaction stays high and their renewal rates are high, then it might be a personality preference, but it may not be a business need. And so then you have a different question you have to ask around, does the talent you require shift? How do you keep great talent if aspects of their jobs change? So I think data has to help inform the decisions that we make, because at the end of the day, we have to stay afloat. And if we want to be customer centric, their opinion really matters. On the flip side, I think asking employees how they want to work, it's one of the things we did at HG is we sort of asked everybody, when all this dust settles, how many days a week would you want to be in the office? What do you think about virtualized working? And came up with a set of guidelines that I think made employees feel heard, but still recognize that the business needs to justify having office space and also allowing teams to collaborate and allowing new employees to onboard and start generating value and contributing, in a timely fashion. And that has certainly become more difficult in a virtual world. But interestingly enough, and I'm sure all of you have probably experienced this, the answers to the questions that we ask about how they want to work and where they want to work were largely dependent upon their life cycle stage, their age, their income, and their distance from the office, and whether or not they were a customer-facing role. But if you're 25 living in London, you probably really want to get out of your flat and you want to go to the pub. But if you have a family and it's an hour commute each way, it might be more difficult, even though you like engaging with colleagues.
Tamara, I'd like your view on this. Is it politically correct to say, come on now, this is what we were doing before, this is what you were doing in February, can we do it? I mean, I would argue possibly not, but how do, when Alison talks about business owners and organisations still striking that balance between performance, maybe some people are waiting for the right time to go, oh, come on. And that means they haven't embraced the last 18 months, obviously, and haven't taken the learning. But do you see a balance? I mean, you've been in the corporate life for so long, and a lot of people have had 20, 30, 40 years in that corporate life and that position. It's very hard, I would suggest, to unwind all that hard wiring that they've had.
I have a friend who's a CFO, and he is definitely an in the office guy. Found himself working at home every day. Really, really thought he'd hate it. Ended up really enjoying it. Is he happy to be back in the office? Yes. Is he in 5 days a week? No, but I think probably 4. But what he has done is recognized that employees can be productive wherever they are. So that's allowed him to feel like he can empower people in the organization to do that too, because he's experienced it. And while he may have a certain view of it'd be nice to go back to where we were, he's more flexible now. So I think it's been a good thing in the evolution of humanity. And I don't think there's a lot of people that are going to talk about going back, because it's not possible. I mean, we can't go back in anything, so it would be sort of strange to think about going back now. The more important question is, what have we learned? What are the things that we did really well before that we haven't been able to do that we can pick back up? And have an open conversation. A lot of well-being is about employee engagement. Are you just deciding at the boardroom or, in your ELT what we're going to do? Or are you actually asking people what might make sense and lead to their greater happiness and productivity? It doesn't mean that they get their way, but the best way to sell something is to ask somebody what their needs are, what the outcome is they're trying to achieve. And then when you formulate a solution, you connect it to what those ambitions are. We can trust people to work and be productive if they're not in front of us. And that's a great thing.
Everything that we had done before was business as usual. So we have an empty inbox policy, so that every single day that the team mentally can switch off, that they don't have to worry what's hitting in their inbox. And the reason we do that is we run folders. But I talk about Alison and Edgar's big balls, so basketballs, tennis balls, and ping pong balls. So when something's in their inbox, it doesn't have to be actioned that day, but is it a basketball, tennis ball, ping pong ball? So when my team shut the doors on the laptop, they're not thinking about work. They've switched off. So, and that's what I do. If I choose to jump on socials, that's my choice, not my necessity.
Jonathan, I want to come to you as well, because I know you wanted an input. I mean, when you look at these organisations that you're dealing with and rubbing shoulders with on a day-to-day basis, I'm interested to get your input on perhaps how the new currency has changed to reward performance.
Wellbeing isn't one size fits all, but performance isn't either, and it's about finding a balance between those two aspects.